Hello guys, welcome to my channel, and in today's video what we'll be doing is we'll be creating a Git repository and we'll be cloning it in our local machines. So to get started, we have few prerequisites which we need to have to go further. So let's quickly look into those. So first of all, we have to download the Git. We have a link for that. Then we have to create an account in GitHub. So GitHub is a vendor which provides Git repositories. And finally, we will be downloading a software called Github Desktop, which will help us to clone the repository which is there in our internet in our local machines. So let's get started. Let us first go to the first link where we can download Git in our local machines. So this is the link, and once you open it, you will get an option to download it for whatever platform you are using. I have a Windows machine, so I'll click on download for Windows. And the download has started. So while this download happens, let us discuss on about what is Git and why do we use it. So Git is a free and open source distributed version control system. What this means is it's a tool where you can have your code or any kind of metadata of code version controlled. So suppose there is a developer one who has pushed a code where he has written hello world, and they have committed it into the branch. Now a second developer comes and updates this to hello world 1, suppose. Now what will happen in Git is the file will be updated to hello world 1 exclamation. But if we want to go back to the previous state, suppose the client has told no, we want the previous set of code which we need. And the first developer has already left the company, and we don't know how to get back what was the initial code. So if we click on the file and check in our Git repositories, we can check a previous commit where we will see that the initial code was hello world. So yeah, that's pretty much it, that we can version control it and we can go back to any previous state if needed, and the code won't be lost forever. So till the download happens, let's go to the second link where we have the link to GitHub, which is a vendor which provides and sells Git repositories. So let me open this link. So once you open the link, if you are a new user, sign up. I already have an account, so what I'll do is I'll click on sign in. It's a pretty straightforward. So once you sign in, I have initially set up the 2FA, so that's why it asked for a code. So once you have logged in, you can see that this is your dashboard. I already have pretty old repositories. What I'll do now is I'll click on new and create a new repository. So here it is asking me that whether the repository you are creating is a public repository where anyone on the internet can see the repository, or it's a private repository. So you can choose who can see your commit to this repository. So in a private repository, only the set of people you choose, you add as an admin can see. But we will just be creating a public repository for now. I'll name this as GitHub repo cloning description test. So once you have provided a name and a description and you have selected whether it will be a public or private repository, It will ask you another question. To initiate this repository with, you can add a README file, you can add a gitignore file, or you can choose a license. For now, I'll just add a README file, which will be pretty much an empty README file, and create the repository. And it's as simple as that. So as I have selected a README file, my repository contains this just this README file. So now we have created our repository, but we don't know how to commit our code and do other changes. So that is where we will require another tool called GitHub Desktop. Before I move there, let us just install the Git which I have downloaded previously. Click on yes, next. I'll install it in my D drive. Next. Just click on next. Next. Select the second option so that you can use any third-party software as well. Click on next. 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 That's all, and click on install. So it will install in your local machine. And meanwhile it is installing my Git, let me introduce you to a tool introduced by GitHub called GitHub Desktop. So what essentially this GitHub Desktop does is it interacts with the online repository and your local machine, and it helps us in cloning or refreshing the repository in your local machine. So let me download this. Now, just to give an example, suppose there are 3 developers working on a project. You have pushed your code in the repository, and some other developer also is working on the same class or file or metadata file, and they push their own changes. Now, your local machine won't have those changes. It will be there in the online repository. So for that, what you have to do is you have to refresh all the time. So that is where this GitHub Desktop tool will help us to keep our repository in sync with our local machine so that we work on the latest code or latest changes, and you don't override someone else's changes. So my Git has been installed and finish. So with the Git we installed, we can actually run commands, Git commands, or we have a UI as well. So if you right click and click on Git bash here, so it will provide you the command line to make and run Git commands. Now if you want to see the UI, you can right click and you can click on Git GUI here. I'll click on that, and it will show how you can create a new repository, clone existing repository, or open existing repository. So yeah, I mean, you can use this tool as well, but I will be showing you how to clone it through GitHub Desktop, which is a much better UI if you ask me, and there are much more functionalities in UI level without running commands. So let's wait for that. Alright guys, so finally my GitHub Desktop has downloaded and I'll install it. So it will ask you for this sign into github.com. which is nothing but this GitHub. We have created an account recently and created a repository, or it will ask you to sign into GitHub Enterprise, whichever you have or you are using with your client. You can select that, or you can skip this step as well. Now I already have a github.com, my project is in GitHub, but if you are using some other Git repository like GitLab or Azure or any other tool which is providing Git repository, you can skip this step and you can clone that. But for now, I'll just sign into my github.com. As I'm already signed in, it will redirect me. It will ask me for the email ID and name. You can use your GitHub account name and email ID, and you can configure it manually. I can give any ID as well. And you can click on finish. It will give a warning, but that's fine. So yeah, we are here and we can see that you can create a tutorial repository, clone a repository from internet, or create a new repository on your hard drive. Now, we already have a repository created. So I'll click on this clone a new repository from the internet. Since I am logged into GitHub, it is showing all of my repository, including the one which I am trying to demo here. But I won't click on this, assuming that you guys are trying to clone any kind of repository. So I'll click on clone a repository from the internet. So this is showing me all of my github.com repository. I can just go ahead and click on this GitHub repo cloning, which will clone my repository in GitHub, or I can use URL for any kind of repository. So let me go to my GitHub, and here you have this code option where you can clone through HTTPS, SSH, or GitHub CLI. So since I am trying to clone it through URL, so I'll copy this HTTPS one. Once it is copied, paste that link. And here it is asking you the local path in your laptop or your desktop, whatever you are using, where it will be cloned. So you can change this location as well. It is somewhere, but make sure that the folder is empty. So git demo. I'll create a folder named this. Select. And now whenever I do a pull or clone or any kind of update, it will happen in this location in your local machine. Let me click on clone. And we are all set. It is showing me the GitHub underscore repo underscore cloning, which is my repository name. If you can remember, this is my GitHub. And this is my GitHub desktop. It's exactly the same. And I want to see where it is in my local machine. So there is an option called Show in Explorer. If I click on this, I have this README file. If you remember, we only had a README file in our repository. Now a developer comes and creates a new text document where they have pushed their code or anything. I'll name it test1 and I'll push something like what. I'll save this and you can close this. And if you go to GitHub Desktop, it will show me there is a new addition. There is a new file called test1 and this is the content of that file. So anything in green is like addition. So you can write a comment like initial commit and you can click on this button called commit. You don't have to manually type in git commands. That is why we are using this convenient GitHub Desktop tool. Now, once you have committed, you have to push it. So what push will do is it will replicate or reflect whatever you have done in your local machine in the online repository. So let me click on push origin. So if you push this, we can go and check in our GitHub whether the repository has been updated or not. So let me do a refresh. So once I refreshed, you can see that there is a new file which I created in my local machine and pushed through GitHub Desktop. If I open this file, you can see it has this line called Hello World. And that's how pretty much we can do any kind of changes and push our code into the repository. If you again want to make a change in this, you can open it. I'll make it like this. Click on save. Let me do more than that. I'll change the spelling and save. An incorrect spelling, but that's fine. Close all of this. And it is showing me that from this, which is in red, we have added in this part, which is in green. So I can give a comment as final commit, click on commit and push origin. It's as simple as that. You have updated your code. Again, to check that, let me refresh this and you can see our updated code is here. So yeah, that's pretty much it. How you can clone your repository, how can you push your changes, and how can you create your repository as well. I hope this video was helpful. If you have any queries, you can put it in the comment. And if it has helped you, please subscribe and share this video with your friends. And I'll see you next time. Thank you.